Professor Howard. Thank you for agreeing to speak. So, as a professor of ethnomusicology, have you had a lot of opportunities to see cultural diplomacy in action, in practice?
Oh yes, and actually when I started my work, in fact before I trained as an ethnomusicologist in the 1970s, there was lots of music as cultural diplomacy. So in those days there were Oriental music festivals and other music festivals where essentially governments would send musicians and troops of musicians, and all seemed to work very well. Then we moved more towards a sort of fusion culture, which is what we've got now with things like WOMAD and cultural cooperation and the music villages. They're all well and good, but suddenly we get things mixing together, and the sort of cultural difference that you have in cultural diplomacy seems to sort of melt away, and that becomes slightly problematic for me.
Yeah. And why do you think it is that music specifically works so well as a way to bring people together from different cultures?
Well, there are two sides to that, and you can divide music down into music for the people, music of the people. So for the people, you can bring, say, a troupe of Indonesian musicians or a violinist from somewhere in Russia to work here as a cultural diplomat, and they play their violin or their gamelan or whatever it is for the audience. And the audience celebrates their skill. So that's music for the people. That's very good as a way of enhancing sort of cultural exchange and cultural diplomacy within that. And in fact, the sort of negotiation that goes on there is very interesting. But there's a second side, and that second side is music of the people. So where people get involved in music making through workshops or through education. And essentially that's what we're trying to do within education settings. So if it's cultural diplomacy, we're using music as a way to show you about different cultures and cultural differences in the world to make everybody a little bit more tolerant of those differences. So working in education is equally important, but there you really want the people to partake, to take part, workshops, to try these instruments, to get rid of the idea that they can only play, say, Western violins, but now they can play in a workshop, say, Japanese instruments or Thai instruments or Indonesian. And that's very important to increase cultural tolerance.
And do you think the way that we experience and share music in the 21st century is going to change at all, or will it remain more or less what it's always been?
No, it's already changed, and the value of music has declined quite considerably, the cultural value of music, if you like. So the capital in there. So it's much more difficult now to be a musician and to actually earn money from music than it used to be. The problem we've got there is that a lot of the music that we hear is being given to us without us being sort of agents in its production or decision making. It's commodified. We're consumers. We have very little choice in what we hear, and we take what we've got there and think that's all there is. Or our computers allow us to make music, but in fact it's the software designer who's decided the parameters of that music. It's not the musicians. So actually the musicians are being sidelined in many ways in today's society.
Thank you. That was really interesting. Thanks for agreeing to talk.
Okay, no problem.
Thanks.